Simon, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure.
Tell me, who is Simon Waterson?
Oh, that's a really tough question in my kind of space because people love to invent their own kind of like. I would say I'm probably a facilitator, maybe a performance coach, a friend. You know, all the things that you don't expect me to be. I think labels now are kind of like he's a PT or he's a endurance athlete coach or something like that. But I would just say I'm a good facilitator and a good listener and very good at working things out. So I suppose performance coach is all right. That'll kind of like do.
Well, let's go with performance coach because I know from everything I've seen and kind of what's put out there maybe on socials and you read is there's a lot of element of physical coaching there. But I imagine there's a lot of mental connotations as well. The mental is probably almost equally as important, if not more. And I wanted to open it up straight away because you work with and train with, A-list celebrities, film stars.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon this morning from Dragon's Den, right? I want to know the journey there that marries the mental fitness to the physical fitness.
The people that you're normally working for are 9 times out of 10 at the top of their game anyway. They're kind of very tuned into what they want, what they require, and their mental side of things. I'm the person to take responsibility to allow them to do their job. So I try and take everything. I take the responsibility of kind of like, don't think about your nutrition. Don't think about like your performance. You don't have to think about your fitness. I've got your back. I'll hand you what you need when you need it. And I like to think I've got a really good toolbox of things, whether that's the psychology part of it, the performance and fitness side of it, the recovery side of it, the nutritional side of it. I can facilitate kind of like most things, but a lot of the time it's just there as just being a good support person, I
Yeah.
suppose. And everyone comes with their own baggage, and every job is different, and you never know what you're going to get, and that's what makes it so interesting for me. I don't know if some people are stronger from a fitness perspective and quite weak from maybe like a mental health, not necessarily weak, but just not so strong at being able to kind of like figure out mental health issues or figure out the tools to help with mental health issues, which there's lots of tools out there that you can use.
It's
So
interesting because there's the PT side for me has always been a physical
yes,
side of it.
yeah.
But actually, there must be people that come to you saying they need and want to get fit for a film or a
Yeah.
role, or just improve their fitness. But actually, you then have to unpick the mental health side of things and actually work with that, which almost makes you a therapist as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, but everyone's a therapist in some way, shape, or
Yeah,
form.
conversation.
Conversation, a buddy, and then when you work with quite high profile people, their kind of network is normally quite small. So the trusted group is quite small. So after it takes a while to build a relationship and you start to be able to, like you said, like unpick certain things of, because everyone struggles with different things, especially through mental health. And it could be, I suppose there's actors and athletes who really struggle, but anxiety or all the things that that you don't expect them to struggle with because we only see the finished product. So we see the finished product on the screen, but to get to that finished product, there's a struggle to get there, or sometimes there isn't a struggle to get there. And then the struggles are different because some are super compliant to maybe my methods, and some people are totally non-compliant and pretend they're compliant, and then behind the scenes they're not compliant. But you always figure that out quite early on.
Yeah, I bet. And that's an intuition and a trained skill that must now be complemented with a vast amount of experience.
Yeah.
And we were talking off camera just a minute ago. I think using that example you say of like the screen. So take Liam Hemsworth, who on screen is killing it. He's the product, I guess, of a lot of hard work that involves you as well. How long will that often be? Because we'll see a film that's being announced, being released, and then we'll go and watch it in the cinema, stream it, what have you. But the work for that may well have started, years in advance, right?
Normally, yeah. And that's what I mean. The process of doing a film is it's quite automated. It's a pretty same process every single time. So they'll get somebody like me in to look at a kind of like an actor, and they say, right, the director will say, right, we need him to look like this and perform like this. And it's my job to kind of like figure out, so I get the script, I would break it down into maybe like what's aesthetic, what's performance related, and what they're going to ask him to do. And then it's my job to condition that person to be able to kind of like do all the things they're going to ask him to do in the stunt room and then take it to the stage. But the process is depending. If they get me on nice and early, that's kind of like great. The more time, the better. And that's where it kind of all starts. So I have to unpick what the relevance is as well. So relevance is, in my business, is the biggest thing. There's no point in me teaching someone to swim when they've got to sprint. There's no point in me teaching somebody to condition them to climb when they've got a, I don't know, fight choreography. So you're trying to just find all the relevancies of what's going to happen in the film. So with Bond, for instance, that's big. You've got to cover every base, because with Daniel, obviously he does everything. So he does fight choreography. He jumps out of planes. He drives the cars. He sprints. He can absolutely everything. And then on top of that, he's got to do it gracefully and look amazing. So you've got to be able to teach the mental kind of like side of it as well, of kind of like being able to do it controlled. So it's a controlled environment. So there's the mental side of things, being able to kind of like breathe and kind of like come through a scene and make it look seamless and effortless. And he's got it down to an absolute T. But he's had 5 goes at it. So
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So did the film producers bring you in, or do the Daniel Craigs of this world get to choose you?
It's like it's almost like an interview process. You know, you have a certain amount of reputation or being in films, and people they may know your name, or they know what you kind of like do, or what you can. And yeah, and I've been very lucky that, for me, Daniel in 2006, when he walks out the water in the blue trunks, and that's a lot of work. That's like years and years of kind of like graft to get to that point. And then you have a bit of a reputation from that. But it could be, sometimes you've got to be really careful with that, because you then have to manage expectation for the jobs coming up, because everything will be referenced to that. And then I did Captain America, and they kind of like the Captain America is like, we just want Captain America to look like Daniel Craig. And you go, okay, but he hasn't got the same genetics. Is he as compliant, and is that the look that you kind of like that you want? And then you do Bond, and then you do Captain America, and then you get given something, a real challenge, and a real good challenger. I did Guardians of the Galaxy with Chris Pratt and turned him from, he was doing Parks and Recreation in America, and then I had to turn him into a superhero. But that's fun though.
I was just going to say, your eyes lit up then, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember going back as far as, for example, Speed with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. He was in Matrix and films where he was just, wafer thin, and then suddenly he was buff. And
yeah.
And I've wanted to almost bring that back to, like, if you are in a position where you're given a brief where, someone needs to bulk up or get fit for a film, is there any danger in actually going at stuff too quick? And yeah, because there's all sorts. It could be supplements. It could be
everything. You got to
destroying your body, right?
You've got to manage expectation, and it all comes, like you said before. It all comes down to that kind of. I've got a lot of experience. I'm really good at, I won't say analysing, but within seconds, like genetics, what they're going to be capable of, how they could possibly look, what their compliancy, and what they're kind of like, what they're going to be willing to put themselves through. But the compliant ones are kind of like, they're easy, because they eat, sleep, everything, fitness, work, the whole lot. Then you get the uncompliant ones who are kind of like pretending they're doing everything, but not really. But
you're going to know, right?
They're always trying to pass it through you, kind of like you're going, well, you're rowing a boat across the ocean, and you're meant to look like a slave. And every time you get a phone call from the studio going, hey, Simon, so this guy looks like he's not rowing a boat as a slave across the ocean. He looks like he's been on tour. Like, so you have to kind of like get it. And then you kind of like ask them, like, are you sticking to, all the parameters of what we've put in place? Training, kind of the nutritional aspects and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah, honestly, sir, yeah, I'm definitely like sticking to it. And you go, oh, okay. And then 3 weeks later, you get another call going, no way, this guy does not look how he's meant to look like. And he's throwing me under the bus. He's going to go, no, I'm sticking to everything. You go, okay. and I just didn't know. And I
That's
remember,
that's your reputation as well,
yeah,
right?
it
Yeah.
is your reputation, and you've got to be really careful. And so I like, you know, and I wouldn't do this all the time anyway. I'm like, right, I'm not going to get thrown in the bus under this one. So I like rang the production and I said, "You pay his room bill?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Just send me his room bill." And you kind of like it, and then so you look at the room bill and you go, hamburger, fries, red wine, pasta, kind of like, and you go,
That's smart.
and you kind of like go, "This ain't me." I'm like, and so, but you know, you can't do that with everybody. But
No, but it's
earlier in my career,
that intuition and that whole, like you said, you can tell really quickly now.
yeah,
Another thing that intrigues me is, you know, going back to almost that sort of polished on the screen, Daniel Craig looking ripped and looking dedicated. You see these guys at their home at 7 in the morning on a Monday on a
yeah.
rainy day. Are they happy to see you, or is it like, I've got to do this because I know I need to, or are they actually that committed? It's like, right, I know, almost making it easy for you. I know I need to do this. Let's go.
At that level, they're committed.
Thought you'd
At
say
that
that.
level, they're completely committed. You know, there's a reason why they're in that role. There's a reason why they're doing that job, and that's because they're meticulous. And I mean super
Must be a pleasure
meticulous.
for you then, in that
It
case,
is.
because you're turning up and they are relying on you
Yeah.
as a sort of a partner and a friend and a therapist and a PT. All these things like make me the best version of
Yeah.
me.
But there's a lot of, I mean, it's pressure. There's a lot of pressure on me as well, because it's like in pro sport, you know, the physios and the strength and conditioning coaches, they've got to get if their players get injured, they've got to get them back on the field as quickly as possible. Now, my job in big budget movies like that is to, you know, prevent all those things, prevent illness, prevent injury, maximum energy, looking fantastic, being able to perform. Because if they lose a day or two or three or four, you know, that's kind of like a lot of money. It's kind of
Time
like
is money in
costing. Time
production,
is
right?
money, yeah. So you've got to be really careful to find that balance, I suppose, of not pushing too hard, that your immune system is on its floor, and then they end up getting ill, and then they kind of like go, well, I think I've been training too hard. So you've got to find that real delicate balance of being able, and I do it on a daily basis. I mean, I ask particular questions on the day. How did you sleep? You know, how was your food last night? You know, how's, like, you know, home life all good and all that? Because those are stresses, external stresses, that can kind of like really spill over into work stresses. And I'm not meant to be a work stress. I mean, I'm not part of it. I'm relieving that. And I have a gym, or we have a different place that I kind of like set up. As soon as that door is shut and it's locked, this is your time now. This is not work time. Anyone can bang on the door. Because when you're on a film set, you know, people banging on the door, we need you to do this, we need you to do that, we need you to do that. It's like you just turn that, you put your own music on, this is your time. So, and sometimes what happens in the gym is not necessarily what people think we're doing in the gym. It could be a lie down and a bit of meditation, feet in the air. It could be just let's do an ice bath at a sauna. It could be just a stretch.
It goes back to the mental
and it
side
goes
of things
back
as
to
well.
that, yeah, all the time. So I'm always very, very conscious. But then there's the times when we go, right, I need you to perform now, because we have got an aesthetic scene in 6 weeks. There's a big red X in the calendar, and you're taking your shirt off and you're on camera, and millions of people are kind of like going to see that. Now, let's like not make it contrived, because I don't do contrived physiques. It looks natural, and there's a relevance. And your physique, like with Bond, like with a lot of Marvel characters, your physique has come around from the nature of your work, not from the nature of being in the gym. Because you've never seen probably James Bond in the gym unless he's been kind of like test, you know, it was a test or something like that. I remember there was a couple of movies where he had to go through a medical, and it was like a gym kind of like thing.
I remember that.
Yeah. So you know,
It's
and we
fascinating.
prepare for that.
You must have a great relationship, because there's a huge amount of trust there. They're trusting you. As you say, they're at the very pinnacle,
Yes.
and they want to look their best. So, but also I can imagine, I would call it a friendship. You know, these
Yeah.
guys are able to confide in you and talk to you about. So I imagine there's a whole what gets discussed in the gym stays in the gym kind of thing, because they can
Yeah.
actually have that conversation
Well, it
with
starts off professional, and then notoriously you like anything, like Dan would say, and like the different Chris's would say, and Liam would say, they would all kind of say, well, I spend more time with you than I do with my partner.
I was thinking that.
And normally that's the case.
Yeah, as long as they don't say they enjoy it more than their partner, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, then you're in kind of like trouble. Yeah.
But one of the things that I was thinking about before we were talking, and you really sort of highlighted it here, is that connection and that need to be operating at the best you can, flipping them back to you. What do you do to look after yourself? And I mean this not just in the physical and mental side of things, but also the fact that you have become an entrepreneur, built your business, built your personal brand around what you do, which is clearly a passion. You've got to make time for yourself.
Yeah.
And I wonder sort of almost like what your morning routine looks like when you aren't training with someone, and what you do to both mentally and physically keep fit.
Well, the different clients have different kind of needs. Now, the first time with Daniel, for instance, when we before pre-Casino Royale, his thing was kind of like, I don't want a trainer, I want a training partner. So whatever he did, I had to do. So
so actually, you're keeping fit, right?
So that actually ticked every single box. So I actually was never.
And you enjoy that?
Yeah, I do. But there's a certain aspect of kind of like, I have to be professional and making sure that you're doing the right things at the right time, and I can't be doing one thing here and he's doing something over there and I don't notice and he gets injured, or so there's a certain amount of kind of like juggling there. But my kind of like my routine is I'm very much like I have the same routine, most mornings. I hydrate before I caffeinate. That's a big thing. I have these few little rules, so I kind of like will just get a pint of water and I'll put my 5 grams of creatine in there and an electrolyte in there. And then so that's my first kind of like thing. Then I'll go outside and I'll have a nice bath for kind of like 3 minutes at 3 degrees. And I get out of the ice bath and then I ground and walk, get some energy kind of like through into my body, recharge my kind of like batteries. Then I would like go back in, and then I would caffeinate because I like a coffee. Put the coffee in the car, go off to work. It's really simple, but super effective. They're all the real effective things, because if I'm charged, it means that I can charge someone else.
That was what I was, because you're a strength to so many people.
Yeah.
And you can feel that. Felt from the minute I met you, you're the composure, but it's that whole, you've got to be strong yourself to be able to be strong for other people.
And and there are there's drains and radiators, isn't there? And this is the thing. And I know when I've been with kind of like a drain, and it's hard. And if that person comes at the end of the day and I've got to be right on my, if I'm doing multiple things, it becomes tough. But you've got to, maybe I use that philosophy again. Maybe I do it mid-afternoon and go, right, I'm just going to jump in the ice bath. I'm just going to ground. I'm just going to have like a coffee. I'm going to hydrate. I'm going to I'm going to meditate for kind of like 3 or 4 minutes. All those little things add up on a daily basis. It doesn't matter. People just put a huge time thing on it. So it's time. No, it doesn't. It's like you can probably do all that in about 7 minutes.
So you are training people to be, in some cases, absolute machines. But if someone's listening to this and thinking, I want to sort of stay fit, I want to maintain a level of fitness, but without being a gym buff, without giving it an hour, is there one particular form of exercise that you kind of swear by? That that I know one size doesn't fit all, but for me it became press ups. It became different things that I could do in a hotel room quickly before I have a shower and so on. Is there...
Just create your own intensity,
right?
And that's the best thing to do. And it doesn't, and they're now, even the science is now kind of like saying that these long kind of like drawn out workouts are not as beneficial as doing 15-20 minutes high intensity 3 times a week. And it's like coming towards that, because that's allowing, you're releasing endorphins, you're having a nice bath, it's releasing kind of like dopamine, you're grounding, it's giving you energy, you're taking you're having your electrolytes and your creatine. That's the cognitive side things. And then you can just sprinkle little things of kind of what suits you and your lifestyle around it. And when you've got time, you can go for it. And when you haven't, just do the little things, the 10-minute things, and it makes a huge difference. And I always add them up like over the year. If you were to do 10 minutes a day, 7 days a week, over a month, over a year, you look at kind of like what you've accomplished, and it's huge.
There's a consistency there, right? And I try to live by that. I try to do something every morning, because otherwise the day can run away from me. I wanted to also touch on the kind of almost entrepreneurial journey. So, the kind of route in, if you like, to being able to work with these big stars in films and so on. Talk me through that.
To be honest, like when I first started, wellness was not a huge thing in the film business, or even so much, we weren't that aware of a lot of things. So my I suppose like fitness kind of like not journey, because that wasn't a journey, that was what I had to do from the military side of things. And that taught me things that not people think, oh yeah, so you're really militant and you can really get, it's like, no, it doesn't. It teaches you structure, and it teaches you
discipline.
yeah, structure and discipline, and you're dealing with a lot of people, and you've seen different people at different levels, and you do different things in the military and how to cope with pressure and stress, and it's like it's all kind of like fine. So and then I just wrote. I was writing military philosophy of like how the fitness kind of like what we used to do and stuff like that, which they're doing a lot of the trendy kind of like bespokey stuff now. What people are doing, it's like people think that's new. That's like about 40 years old, and it's still the stuff that's working. High intensity, kind of like condensed workouts, elevating your heart rate. And you can attribute that to whether you want to, it's a cardiovascular thing, or whether it's a kind of like hypertrophy thing. So you want to kind of like put on a bit of muscle tissue. You can still kind of like do that using that kind of method. Now I kind of like, I do my own method. I quite like it. I have this method where I like to have 5 exercises, a body part, and then I sprinkle in a bit of mobility and a little bit of kind of like core work in between. And I use it all the time, and it works. And the problem is though, it's like there's so much out there that you just got to find the thing that works for you, and that works for me, and it works for the people that I'm prescribing it to.
Clearly.
And I'm just lucky. I don't know why. Sometimes I don't know why it works, and we don't know why it works. It just does.
But I think that, what I like about that is there's an authenticity in that, and doing what feels right for you.
Yeah.
Then ended up being what other people wanted. But that journey, was there a moment, was there a particular scenario that happened where the door opened, or you opened the door to be able to ultimately work with all these A-listers? Because I imagine once you got into that world, there's a huge amount of referrals. A studio will want to work with you again, and so on. And dare I say, I don't want to say it got easier, but that became your niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, and did you aspire to do that? Was that deliberate,
No.
or so what was the catalyst there? What happened?
It just snowballed after one. I mean, I did my first movie with Pierce when he was Bond. So I did 2 movies with him, and then whilst you're there, Pierce, could you look after Halle? So I look after Halle Berry. Can you look after this? So you end up going, oh, I'm looking after Robert Carlyle. I'm looking after this. So you've got a bank of like 8 people you're looking after, and then work wasn't really that great after that, because the big action movies were very few and far between. So, and they didn't understand the wellness side of things. It was just an expense. It's something you do in your spare time. It's something you do as an additional thing.
And nice to have.
Yeah, but then, the especially like the Bond journey. So, and the lovely producer like Barbara Broccoli, she always had the insight of like just look after him no matter what he's doing. Because not wrap him in cotton wool, but just kind of give him what he wants. Kind of like he can not in a kind of like he can have what he wants way of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
Spoil?
No, not in it wasn't a spoiler way. It's like some people need that support, and let's like keep, because it's such a brutal schedule. So you've got like the preparation, then you've got like the actual filming, then you've got the post. And then you've got to go out and promote it. So you could be like 6 weeks on the road promoting it around the world. One day China, Canada, Brazil, Madrid, and it's like.
Are you traveling with them at this point?
I travel, yeah.
So a lot
all
of
around the
people,
world.
Maybe me naively, would think that it's all about the training for the program or the film.
Yeah.
You are actually then a constant through the whole process of promotion, distribution.
Yeah. You've got to be fit, and Daniel said he wants to look good in a suit. Doesn't everybody? He wants to have like maximum energy.
There's interviews after interviews and radio shows, whatever.
Yeah, and like you asked me about the process of what I have in the morning. We would do that before you do all this. So we kind of like go. We do the gym. We do a little bit of whatever we're going to do that day, and then I organise all the wellness behind the scenes. And I'll say, tonight I booked you with a chiropractor, and then we're going to do and then I've got you a deep tissue here. Then we're going to go do sauna, steam, ice bath, and then so you're constantly kind of like making sure that the wellness is always there, and that's me alleviating the pressure on kind of like him or her not having to think about it themselves. It's all right, Simon's got my back. It's all right, yeah, we're all good. Food sorted, great. I'm having a massage tonight, brilliant. We're working out tomorrow, great. And it's done.
I get that.
But it's not about being part of an entourage now. Before, it was the perception was you're part of an entourage and it's just because it's cool. Now it's a necessity.
That's great. It's good to hear. That's a shift of mindset.
Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of just listening to you and sort of at this stage of the conversation, there's the military background, there's the discipline, there's the consistency. I'm now interested in the sort of the day in the life of, which actually reminds me of our call last week, where I think you were leaving Daniel Craig's house, going to
Maybe,
Avengers.
yeah.
And you were smiling, and I've actually just kind of mentioned it to the builders in my home that it is work, and they were like, they're looking at me like, is he for real? Did he just say Liam Hemsworth? And so on.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making there is no day's the same. Do you embrace that? Because you've definitely had a period in your life where there's been almost probably sort of regimental routine. Do you thrive off the fact that now at any one time you may not know where you're going and you're going off and doing interviews with the next star for Avengers? And
could do, yeah. I don't, I'm not really that, it doesn't really faze me now, that kind of part of things.
I didn't mean the starstruck bit. I can tell that's not. I meant more as it's almost like it's normal. I meant more as in embracing the fact that no day is the same, and you thrive on that rather than at times. And people watching, listening could be all about the routine and the structure. But I feel like you really embrace that.
I get a text message at 10 o'clock at night. Can we do 4:30? Like that, in the morning, and you're going, God, oh yeah, that's fine. So again, but that's a 3 o'clock set your alarm to get there at 4:30. And that particular person, and I won't mention his name, but he's very consistent and just a huge kind of like athlete. You know, he does. You'll know who I'm talking about anyway. I mean, he does Marvel, and then he plays football for like UNICEF, and he's a very much. And his kind of thing is, and I did a whole movie with him, and I thought he would fade away at the 4 o'clock start. I thought it would fade away, and it didn't. It was like kind of like 3 months later, we're still doing it at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm thinking, whew, I'm struggling. He isn't. I am though. It's like this is getting like tough. And his kind of thing was like, listen, Simon, you know, with all this, you're the keys. You're the analogy he gave is like, you are the keys to my car, and so you're the keys. You come with the key. Then we switch on the engine, and it allows me to go to work. And so I'm like, okay. And he said, I can't. And it's quite a lot of pressure. I can't do it without you, because if we don't put the key in the ignition and turn the engine through our kind of like fitness regime in the morning, it's very difficult for me to kind of like have a kind of like a very smooth day, because it switches on my brain, it switches on my body, and yeah. So that's that person. So that's just one.
Shows you how important you are to these people. Yeah. Like the keys to the car. Right?
The keys to the car.
There's a lot you can't say. Have a think about this. Is there a story? Is there a scenario that makes you smile that you can tell me where you've worked with someone that might give a bit of an insight into kind of the relations you have with these people, or you know, and someone that you can actually name, and they'd almost want to hear this.
Well, yeah, there's lots of. I mean, I've been really lucky to work with. I mean, just lately, I've worked with Jeremy Renner, who we know went through a horrific accident, and a lot of rehabilitation and stuff like that. And I was really flattered that I was trusted to look after him on the particular movie that we've just kind of like done for like 4 or 5 months, because the work, and now we are really getting into, you know, territory of like very, very medical. And the science and the physiology of everything, because, you know, he will be the first person. You know, he's made of a lot of metal, and there's a lot of things going on. But oh, what an athlete now! What an athlete! But getting into the cognitive side of things, you know, especially with him, you know, his brain spends a lot of time switching his body on. So sometimes, a couple of times, I remember being in the gym and walking past kind of one another, and I'm like, Jeremy, and he's like, and you go, you remember it's Simon?
Hello.
Yeah, but you know, he's concentrating so much on switching his his body on. Now that you know, the physiology from that, and the you know, everything that he's kind of like went through, and to come through the other side is just like phenomenal. And what a great guy to kind of like work with. Now that's really flattering for me, for somebody who's had that amount of things happen, for me to look after him was quite kind of like it was really flattering. And then there's the other side of things, like you were talking about, then the funny side of things, or the compliant things, and you go and you have an interview, and I remember it was an Australian actor, and I don't think he would mind me. He wouldn't mind me saying it was Sam Worthington. And he'd done Terminator, and he'd done all these kind of things. And I went like for a little interview, and he was doing Wrath of the Titans, and yeah, he worked out a little bit, but he wasn't the most kind of like, oh, yeah, he was going through a phase of, oh, yeah, if I have to do it, I will. And he would be like, and I'm like, so what we're going to do, mate? Like, yeah, mate. So basically, just the arms. We don't see anything else. And I'm like, but Sam, we can't train arms like every day for the next 6 months. He's like, yeah, we can, mate. Just in a little skirt, got a sword, just the arms just need to look great. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, all right. So I can normally manipulate that into other stuff. And then I said, and so that's all he wanted to do. I said, and how's it? And what about food wise? Yeah, mate, I don't really like food. And he got, sorry for my really bad accent, I don't really like
That's
food.
good.
And I'm like, what do you mean you don't like? What do you mean you don't like food? And I took him I took him like to the cafe. I just walked through the cafe because I forget. Sometimes I forget that. Oh yeah, you're famous. I forgot about that. So everyone's like staring and going, yeah, mate, loved you in that. Yeah, mate, loved you in that. It's like, you know, all that kind of stuff. That, I mean, walking through the studio with like Woody Harrelson and we go, loved you in White Men Can't Jump. And they're like, and I'm like, they always go back to White Men Can't Jump, don't they? Not your body of work that you've done. And they go, and he's like, yeah, it's just unbelievable that they just love that. So with Sam, he was kind of like the huge, you know, they were kind of waving. I loved you in Avatar, like you in Terminator, blah 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 blah. And then I said, right, I'm gonna have a baked potato with some tuna and this, that, and the other. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm not really eating. I'm like, so what's your go-to food? He's like, yeah, to be honest, cheese on toast 3 times a day. And I'm like, you just eat cheese on toast 3 times a day? Yeah. And I'm just like, arms 3 times a week, cheese on toast 3 times a day. And I'm like, how am I going to get through this for 6 months with you? But you kind of get through it. You kind
Did you get him off the cheese and toast?
Not really, no, not really.
So he was
just
set in his ways.
like that, but he's you know, and
he's working for him though, right? It's quite a good example of
it
actually.
Works.
Like, yeah.
It's his lifestyle and it's what he wanted to do. So I've just got to kind of try and sprinkle a little bit of magic in without him noticing now and again. Oh, there's no cheese on toast today, mate. It was this yeah, it's this really nice grilled piece of fish with, and there's some vegetables and, you know, and a bit of, and like, that's all there is. Oh, okay, mate, I'll try it, but, you know, I said, I know you're a cheese on toast man, but there you go. So yeah, there's different examples, all different, and I've made many kind of like mistakes.
Yeah.
Like giving people
fascinating experience.
Giving people drinks that they shouldn't be drinking when they've got a blue mouth and they're filming. Jake Gyllenhaal, like Prince of Persia, I gave him, like, he's like, you imagine one of those energy drinks, you give him an energy drink and it's like, oh, I forgot it's blue. I'm like, okay, everyone stop there. Jake, your mouth is like, your teeth, everything is just like bright, kind of like blue. And like, you know, sorry. I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't really realize. Yeah. So it's all those like small nuances, yeah, like working, that builds camaraderie, and it builds trust, and it builds, we're not all perfect, but there is a way, you can find a way. And if you know, implement these tiny little things into your life, it can make you happy. It can make you laugh. There is a little bit of pain involved, but it's essential to have all those emotions to make yourself very well-rounded, I feel. So
interesting. Has there ever been anyone that you've quite simply not managed to make it work with, or not wanted to work with? Because you've got a phenomenal track record.
There's lots of people that kind of eye me from a distance, and they go, and I'm just like, and I just, you know, I could be on set, and and it's been lately, and I'm like, I'm not interested in working for them. I know that's going to be, your life is literally over, and I know it, and I know their trainers are going, their trainers, or they're going, I've done 4 years, I'm kind of like done. I'm like, you interested in the job? Massive high profile person. I'm like, no chance. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Because you could be.
That's your intuition. That's all that experience.
And also as well, it doesn't a lot. You have to do, again. You get to the point where I'm in a really privileged position where I can pick and choose the people, and where I think, oh, that's going to be really nice. That feels really good. But also as well, I like the challenges. You know, the worst thing is turning up and someone's like absolutely ripped, and I do this, and this, and you go, we'll carry on doing that then. You know, that's great. I kind of like the little kind of like challenges, you know, and that's what happens. People turn up. Lately, I mean, the funny thing lately is that I've been managing like a lot of trainers to be trainers to their clients, like behind the scenes. I'm thinking, I'm teaching you how to teach them. And I'm not even being, I'm not on the payroll, I'm not being paid, but I'm giving you all the information. And I just think, you know what, it's quite nice. It's a really good feeling. It's a really good currency. And the currency that I like at the minute is helping people and not being paid. And that sounds crazy, because the currency in your heart far outweighs the currency in your bank account.
You've just said that is so profound. That aligns us as well. I had to mentally condition myself to pull away from trying to make the next pound 3 years ago, to go after fulfillment,
Yeah,
to find purpose.
yeah.
And you don't hear that very often. And
No,
you said it beautifully. And also, I can feel the authenticity of
yeah,
you when you say it.
and
You mean it.
yeah, and I've worked with a lot of people lately who, you're getting them out of trouble. They're kind of, they're aches and pains, like with the Jeremy thing maybe, and other people as well. And the fulfillment of that is, I'm learning now, it just far outweighs anything else. And you can't replace fulfillment with a paycheck. It's impossible. And you can be very kind of like, it's really emotional to help people. And that one thing of someone asking if you're being paid, but the other thing of somebody thanking you and saying, thank you, I'm not in pain anymore, I know my purpose, I've got a routine, and I'm looking forward to life.
It's powerful.
Mm.
It actually brings me on to what was going to be my last question. And I know that you've earned and put yourself in a position of being able to do what you want when you want and go after the work that you want. But a lot of people watching and listening will be aspirational PTs, performance coaches. What advice would you give almost to your younger self, stroke someone that's coming through, sees this as something they'd like to do, sees the opportunity to get fulfillment from it? What's that one piece of advice you give to them?
I think just being true to yourself with your own theory and philosophy. It's very hard to take someone else's theory and philosophy and implement it as your own. It's a real struggle. You have to kind of like have your own, whatever in your heart and that's worked for you. You've got to have that, tailor it, implement it, because it makes it a lot easier. Don't try and be something else. Don't try and be somebody that you think somebody wants you to be. But you've got to be original, and that applies whether it's in any way, shape, or form. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's work, it's like authenticity kills everything.
It's brilliant. You're a pleasure to talk with, Simon. Thank you.
Pleasure.
And I know how busy your schedule is, clearly. So to make time and film with me today, thank you so much. Hope
It's
you've enjoyed it.
Nice to be able to share.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I selfishly wanted to learn from you today, and it's a pleasure to share it. So
Yeah.
thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Cheers.
My pleasure.